The Magal Tower, my game's first dungeon, home to nothing. I haven't made it, but soon it'll have smooching bosses and this guy. And I have a sweet game design document that'll guide me through most of this. I developed some overworld abilities, but one of them I scrapped. It still has its prints on some of these maps, but whatever, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So far, the maps are looking good, but then there's the second half of the dungeon. Look at the 4th floor. Big, empty space. What do? I feel like I'm Quentin Tarantini, staring at the blank page where I have to write my justification for Roman Polanski's criminal behavior towards minors. I have to keep in mind that this is the first opportunity the player has to use their powers. I have to keep it simple. It needs to be simpler than I would mean to make it, because I'm so used to using these powers. I'm like so good at it. You don't even know, dude. Shut up. Just go home or something. Let me test it out and... What the hell just happened? Let me test it out and... There you go. So, how's the player going to learn about using these powers? Well, from the bosses, of course. You beat the bosses, and then you earn their powers. So, the bosses, who are defeated, simply instruct you on how to use their powers, what buttons to press, etc. And then this little portion before the main course of puzzles simply needs you to use those powers. No hard thinking required. Then you're off. Unfortunately, auto tiles that make ceilings or rooftops don't interact well with the charging, pushing, or bombing powers. The solution is simple. Create an invisible, unpassable tile that won't confuse the game. It's only visible while I'm in the editor, so they won't show up in-game. This will just be a band-aid solution until I make my own tile set, instead of these, temp assets. Most of these are from the Dragon Quest games, and some of them are hired off of Craigslist. I think they keep stealing pills out of my bathroom cabinet. Anyway, the next few floors. They're a doozy, I'd say, because I have to completely rework them. I'm just gonna wing it. Let's wing the rest. Why is that so hard to say? Alright, so I think a lot of these puzzles might be tough, they might not be, who knows. They're all tentative, all subject to change, and they can be repurposed to fit later dungeons, so it's not a big loss if they don't end up working for the first dungeon. In fact, seeing how someone might struggle with these puzzles might be the inspiration I need to create newer, more beginner-friendly puzzles. It may clue me into an aspect of puzzle design that I've been completely neglecting. Of course, I don't want to change anything. I worked hard on it. I feel proud of it. I'm proud of my son. But it'll likely need a rework. Next up, what's a dungeon without some detours for cool loot? You gonna tell me or what?
And what's a game without an audience? I need you all to subscribble as soon as possible. I need you to click the button of lick. I need you to vomit out a comment out. I need you to share with your homies this devlog shalomi. Because you know what happens after a closed beta? A gaping beta.
You might think it's as simple as plopping down a chest and saying, if open, give player loot. My game doesn't handle equipment the way you might think. There is no equipment screen. I mean, it's there currently, but it won't be when I finish making the game. Instead, you automatically equip the newest gear. But what if the newest gear is worse than the previous gear? 2 solutions. 1. If the player buys from a shop, there will be a little information window that shows whether their stats will increase or decrease. That's just standard, right? 2. All equipment progresses linearly. There's never a trade-off. You might think that strips away some strategy, but when it comes to balancing this game with its other strategic elements, I think it makes for a more focused experience. It makes it so that balancing is way more fine-tuned. 3. I know I said 2 solutions, but here's a turd, and there's a third. If there's a chest with gear in it, then you just open the chest and get the item. But if you already have better equipment, then the chest will simply be empty. There's the short sword. And there's the long sword, which is the better sword. No short sword in sight. But if you already have the long sword or something better, but haven't come across this chest, then it'll be empty the moment you enter the room. You may have noticed that this dungeon is feeling a little empty. What's missing? Gasp! Enemies!
Shout out to Edom Games, go check out their channel.